Congressman Rogers, to you, you say Chaffetz does not have those votes, right? He came out when he announced a few days ago and he said it's all about the math and the math doesn't add up for McCarthy. So he gets in. You don't think he has the numbers, so who?
Well, I think they're going to have to take a step back. Parties are coalitions. The Democrat Party is a series of coalitions. The Republican Party is a series of coalitions. And who can put the face in front of those coalitions that brings them all together and at least allows them to elect a speaker? I think they're going to look at some old hands around Congress. I know that we talked about off-air draft Paul Ryan. I'm a little skeptical that he'd even go ahead and do that. You have to be a political animal to be able to be Speaker of the House these days. I think people like Greg Walden, who has long-term, he served on the political, the NRCC, which did all the politics for all the members. He knows all the members well. He knows their districts. He knows their challenges. He knows their political temperament. He has been a subcommittee chairman on the Energy and Commerce Committee, a real leader there. So somebody like that can kind of bridge these gaps and still understands communication and politics and policy, I think that's the kind of guy they're going to have to look for, or lady, to unify what looks like trouble for them if they don't get their act together soon.
And Margaret, you're in the draft Paul Ryan camp.
Well, I'm so glad that Congressman Rogers mentioned Paul Ryan because, you know, Greg Walden, certainly a great guy. I'm a big fan of his, but you need somebody who can unify the Freedom Caucus along with all the other caucuses. And frankly, Greg Walden is a bit more of a centrist. The Freedom Caucus and Conference, rather, really respects Paul Ryan. I mean, he has been a true fiscal conservative. He may be one of the only profiles that really could rise to the top. Now, of course, he doesn't want to do it. We all know that about Paul Ryan. He'd rather just stay as head of Ways and Means Committee, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, but he is also sometimes susceptible to calls to do his duty, to serve his country, and he's done that before when he ran for the VP, and he is certainly primed to be the third in line for the presidency because he has had these national experiences running not just for the vice presidency, but also whipping his budget and getting his budget through Congress. He's in my view, the best candidate to really set the table for 2016 for the Republican Party.
Congressman Rogers, to you, a reporter asked in the brief statements that Rep. Kevin McCarthy gave today, they said, did these Benghazi comments, the comments about the Select Committee on Benghazi hurting Hillary Clinton's poll numbers, did those play into this decision? He said, well, that wasn't helpful. I could have said it much better. That's part of the decision as well. Was that the demise of this run?
I'll be honest with you, I think it was one factor. The demise of the run. There is a real difference of opinion in one of the larger coalitions in the House of Representatives, at least the Republicans in the House of Representatives today. And no one has quite figured out how to thread that needle. And you have to want to govern. And getting 80% of what you want and taking that deal like the Reagan Republicans, which is the majority of the Republicans in Congress, works for governance. And there's a faction that says no, we don't even want 99%, we want 100. We're going to have to figure out a way, Republicans are going to have to figure out a way to thread that needle to get to the governance party and conservative principles, and they haven't quite gotten there yet. They're going to need that candidate to do that. I think they wanted a scalp. I think they were already out for Kevin McCarthy the day before he announced that he wanted to be a speaker because they want concessions. And I thought it was something really telling that he said, Poppy, is that they asked him to do things that he could not promise to do. That's going to be interesting. That will come out over the next few days. I'm going to be fascinated to see what kinds of power extractions they were trying to get and what that meant for good governance in the future. I think that's going to be pretty telling.
And we'll see if this is sort of hitting the refresh button for the party and for the leadership there, as Margaret just said. Margaret Hoover, thank you. Congressman Mike Rogers, as always.